at the Emerald Conference. Emerald Scientific, MJ BizCon's answer to help educate the cannabis industry about the scientific ongoings of the cannabis industry and cannabis plant. My co-host is here with me.
Destiny Blanco.
And we are in sunny San Diego. Do we have the San Diego cam now? Look at that. We have an outdoor camera. We are like almost at ESPN game day level stuff here. We have like camera angles everywhere, lights everywhere, and we have an outdoor cam.
We need one of those seagulls to just fly by that view.
But we are pleased to be joined with another one of the wonderful collaborators, speakers, attendees. The quality of individuals here at the Emerald Conference is extraordinary. So it's our pleasure to record some of them and their experiences here. I'll tell you a little about who they are.
I'm learning so much.
And we're learning so much. And then hopefully you guys are out there learning so much. And next time maybe attend the Emerald Conference. But if you can't, definitely reach out to our podcast individuals and contact them because they're interested in working, collaborating with more people out there in the cannabis industry. So we are pleased to be joined by Susan Audino.
Perfect.
Is that, I'm pronouncing that right?
Perfect.
What's the origins of that last name? I've never heard the name Audino.
It's Italian.
Italiano.
Italian.
Excellent.
I did a DNA study, a DNA test a few years ago, and it came back, 99.98% Italian. And whatever was left over as Neanderthal. So now I refer to myself as a Neanderthal Italian, or an Italian Neanderthal.
Well, you're mixed race. I like that.
There you go.
Some gabagoo.
Well, what is Italian? Is it like, because Italians can be white, black, brown, and this whole thing's confusing.
Yeah, it is confusing. And what's really cool is my father's family is from one part of the country where I got the olive skin and the dark eyes. Mm-hmm. My mom's family is from a different area, and they're all blue and green-eyed, fair-skinned, blonde hair. All Italian.
Huh.
I just like to think we're all humans.
We are.
I kind of leave it at that.
That is the most important thing. But we do have really good food.
That's true. And I do love Italy. We were in Rome last year.
Uh-huh. I had a cannoli for my first time.
That's right.
I have cannolis before, but not from Rome.
There you go.
Right in front of the Colosseum.
So, Susan, we're going to get into your journey, and what you're doing in cannabis and who you are and stuff. But first of all, let's get some impressions about the Emerald Conference in general. What did you think about the caliber of your peers here at the conference?
I love coming here because I feel like I'm coming home and I can speak my language and be around people we're all speaking the same language of science, and it's really, really exciting for me personally and professionally. So the caliber of the scientists here is just exceptional. Always has been, continues to be, and the best part is that I now get to call several of them who I've met here my friends, and so I can't say enough good about it.
Right.
It is incredible. I mean, Professor Keller blew my mind. Mm-hmm. Did you meet Professor Keller?
Mm-hmm.
What's his
Kellen.
first name? Jeff Keller. Jeff Keller, yeah.
Okay.
I just call him Professor because he's like a professor. I mean, he really is a professor, but he speaks like a professor.
Super smart.
I grew up in the academic world, so I was raised by a bunch of professors. But Susan, you are a chemist. You are an assessor. You are an instructor. You do a lot in the cannabis space. But let's get to that. First, going through a little bit about your history and your professional background, so people can know a little bit more about you. You can start from birth, or you can start from graduate studies, wherever you'd like to.
Well, I started out in a very nice, cozy environment until my mother evicted me after about 9 months.
Yes.
And
that's a good answer.
Way to describe it.
The only better answer is I don't remember my birth. It happened during my blackout. One of my blackouts.
I like that too.
This is Jim Morrison.
I like that.
It's the Doors. He said that.
Where
were you born? I don't remember. It happened during a blackout.
I like that.
Sorry,
go ahead. I'm from New England. I'm actually from Rhode Island, of all places.
Okay.
And I went to college in Maryland. I studied, of all things, psychology. Went to graduate school for psychology. I have advanced degrees in psychology. Practiced for a good number of years. Then I decided to change careers, and I wanted to be a chiropractor, of all things. And I got accepted into chiropractic school, and they said, but you must have all of these chemistry classes, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. It's going to kill me.
Chemistry to crack people's backs?
No, yeah, you need a Gen Chem, Organic Chem, Physics, and Biochem, and I thought, whatever.
Oh, wow.
So I did them all at one time. I took General Chemistry, Organic Chemistry, Biochemistry, and Physics all at once. Apparently the faculty had bets riding on me as to how quickly I would drop out. I survived. So after a string of events, I decided to stick around and just get an undergraduate degree in chemistry on my way to chiropractic school. And then in the process of doing that, I did an independent study with with a STEM program. So I got a grant and I did some research with the Secret Service of all places.
Okay.
Wow, nice.
And in doing that, I thought, I don't want to be a chiropractor. I need to be a chemist. And so I applied to graduate school.
You didn't want to become a Secret Service agent?
No, and you know what?
Secret
But he was trying to
Service.
get me to go into the FBI with the psychology background, the chemistry.
Right.
That would have been a good thing.
That's
And I'm
kind
like,
of cool.
That sounds like a movie.
Yeah, it
and I
does.
said,
Like
I'm like,
double agent over here.
yeah, I'm like, no, I need to be a chemist. It's cool stuff. So I got into graduate school, and I did my doctoral research started out in experimental chemical kinetics and thermodynamics at NIST
Oh, mouthful.
in Gaithersburg, and then I
At NIST? Oh,
NIST,
New
the
York.
National Institute of Standards and Technology. It is the
Right.
largest federal laboratory in the country, and they
National-
also maintain our national time. I ended up moving, and I had a special fellowship by the National Science Foundation to study statistics. So I had to take a lot of statistics classes along with those chemistry, the graduate chemistry, and so I ended up moving into analytical chemistry, and it's really been quite exciting. I call myself a separatist now. That's what we do in analytical chemistry.
I like that. That was clever. Did you catch? You got to catch that. Yeah, that was. It's okay. I'm with you on this. I have some psychology jokes, William James type stuff that I was going to bring up, but then that's for another podcast. So, how did you end up working in the cannabis space?
So about 10 years ago...
Let me make my prosecutor joke. Ladies and gentlemen, I moved to have her admitted as an expert. Granted to me, Your Honor, I moved to have her as an expert. Forget it.
Got it.
It's been 12 years since I've done that.
Okay.
So I'd have to remember the phrasing. But
You're a
sorry.
little rusty. But,
yeah, I am
but
rusty.
good.
But we established you as an expert. Now, how do you bring that expertise to cannabis?
I love her already.
And a separatist.
There you go.
That was a little political joke, the separatist thing. I'll explain that later.
Okay.
About 10 years ago, an old friend of mine in Rhode Island was starting up a cannabis program dispensary, and he said, "Oh, Sue, I didn't realize that you're a chemist. I know you as a psychologist. Why don't you come work with me?" And I said, "Are you crazy? That stuff needs to be illegal."
Right.
And so he said, "Well, think about it." And I did, and I started pulling out some of the Mechoulam articles and papers and really understanding the chemistry, and I thought it was fabulous. I thought it was very intriguing and interesting,
Wow.
and the science of it was just fascinating. And at the time, I was also working for Accreditation Bodies, and I said, guys, there's something to this. And they sort of laughed at me and said, "Oh, no, it's not
Right.
going to happen." And about a year or two later, they said, "Sue, there's something going on here with these cannabis testing programs and labs. Tell us what you know." And so things just snowballed and snowballed and snowballed. And so I've been a consultant for about 12 years in psychology, in chemistry. And so I consult to regulatory bodies, I consult to the states, I consult to laboratories, all kinds of different programs. I teach laboratory accreditation. I audit to laboratory accredited standards, accreditation standards and requirements. And basically, I've got my thumb is in many different pies. And I'm kind of a unicorn in the industry, always have been. And I think there are a few people who are kind of like following me along, which is great because I'd like to retire. My accountant tells me I can retire when I'm about 118.
Right.
About 112 if I work really hard. So clearly I need to get people groomed up to replace me. And so I'm hoping that through some mentorship and some work that we can have a whole new crop of a herd of unicorns.
So you're working mostly with laboratories in regards to helping them get designed out and set up properly for accreditation?
In some respects, it depends what they want, right?
Right.
I've been an acting chief scientific officer for some labs, so I'll develop their technical programs, their analytical programs. I analyze data. Some people really hate when I audit their labs and I analyze their data. Just to tell you what kind of a nerd I am, I actually have virtual instruments on my computer. So I can run some studies on my computer that people think is just really weird.
Right.
I also help build out laboratories, so physically looking at the landscape, looking at the real estate, what is the best way to set up the laboratory for sample throughput and testing. I also help them establish their quality assurance program, quality control program, and then teach them some of the science. I teach them the instrumentation. I advise as to what kind of instruments to buy. I advise them how to train their staff. I advise them how to establish a program that will improve their position of defensibility and the defensibility of the validity of their results. Nowadays, we're hearing more and more about lawsuits. It's gonna only increase, and so I'm considered a very difficult assessor. I hold people to a very high standard, especially when they're my customers. Scientific integrity must be held at its highest level, and I don't compromise on that.
And you're working with labs across the United States?
Internationally.
That's about. You didn't allow me to ask my question.
Oh,
You're supposed
I'm
to
sorry.
say yes or no.
I take it back. What was your next question?
Yes or no? Are you working with labs across the United States?
Yes.
Are you working internationally as well?
Yes.
What?
She just stopped me there. I've got to regroup on that one. So, what exactly now? So you're working in all the different states as well. And so, what's happening internationally? Because we haven't touched upon that here. We've had some different discussion about some lab activity in all the different states. We had the accreditation guys here.
AC lab.
Yeah, and then they were going a lot of stuff about what's happening in the United States. But internationally, there's labs being developed as well, obviously.
There are labs being developed. What's happening internationally is really what's happened here in the United States is that the international governments, and it's those governments that are contacting me in some cases, as well as the laboratories, to help establish the regulatory structure around their countries in order to do the testing and product development.
But not the governments who know you're a separatist.
But yeah, that was supposed to be my secret.
Well, if they know you're an agitator, I'm just kidding. It's a political thing.
So I will help advise them. I can't make their decisions for them. I can't, as much as I advise laboratories in the country, in the United States, I can't tell them what to do. I can say, if you want to follow my suggestions, great. I'm happy to work with you. And if you don't, that's okay. I'm still going to wish you well, and I may need to walk away. Because I don't want to be involved in laboratories or work where people don't want to continually get better. I get a lot of lip service, we want to get better, but we're already doing really good work, so we don't have to get better. And then I politely step away. So I'm helping countries define what all of this means. What is quality? What is cannabis? What should we expect?
And go ahead, sorry.
Well, I was going to ask you, what is your opinion nowadays? Everyone's always looking for this high percentage THC product, and they're getting in trouble for manipulating it.
Yeah, and that you bring up a really interesting point. And I just had this conversation out at the table with somebody, and in some cases, it may appear to be product inflation, and it may not be. So what's happening in the United States is a lot of laboratories are actually consciously, intentionally becoming less good analytically in order to accommodate the broader customer base and make more people happy and to accommodate the regulatory structure and specifications. And so whereas an analytical chemist, I want to make my methods really tight and very, very specific. A lot of laboratories are saying, oh, that's not going to get us any customers. That's going to get us out of business. So we're going to loosen that up. So instead of improving the science, we're going to make the decision to, relax our standards a little bit.
You sound like my law school professor. I made a decision to be less good intellectually so I could reach a broader audience. And they said, no. You need to be a better lawyer. And I said, no, but then I won't reach that broader audience.
It's a joke. Never downplay
It's a good joke, right?
It is a good joke.
Yeah, it's that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just commenting on it. Never downplay yourself.
No, I like that. So does that answer your question about THC?
Yeah, a little bit. It gives me a better understanding.
The other piece of that is that there's been so much done to that poor plant that it has very little resemblance to what it was 100 years ago or 50 years ago.
Right.
So it's been manipulated over and over and over again, and so it's sort of mind-boggling where we're all going, where we've come from, and
It
It's
is
hard to catch up.
amazing. And, like, I see some of the hydroponic farming that's going on right now and the amount of money and research and development that has happened in the last 10, 20, 30 years. And this is such a unique industry to be involved in because of that. And you think, what are the ramifications of that on hydroponic farming in general?
Mhm.
What's going to happen with, tomatoes when we go to the moon because of the cannabis industry? There's all these really weird, unique things happening. I don't understand the laboratory world enough. My understanding of it is more of like a philosophical and policy one. When I started in cannabis in 2012, I was in a jurisdiction that didn't even have lab testing.
Mhm.
So we went through the debate: should there be testing? And my uncle from Santa Cruz County, I was in Arizona. He's like, I've been smoking weed since Vietnam.
Mhm.
No one ever tested it. I'll be fine. And I was like, okay, we don't not even need testing? And then my friends over here is like, you have no idea what we're putting pesticides wise in these indoor grows to kill everything. We
Yeah.
should have testing.
Yeah, and if you have high cholesterol, you want to know how much fat is in the food that you're eating.
Right.
You're looking at a label on. Here's
Got
a bottle
carbs,
of Coke.
the sodium,
Right? Here's a bottle of Coke,
protein.
and I know how much fat, sodium, carbs are in there. Why shouldn't we have that same? We even know what's in cigarettes.
Right. But how do we know at what level the Coke is accurately being tested enough and for enough things? Because
Well-
we could test I'm sure we could test the Coke for a lot more
Mhm.
than we're actually testing it for, right?
Sure, we could, and they may be. And right now, we're just looking at this product label,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So we have a product label on all of those cannabis products. Whether that label is comprehensive or condensed is irrelevant, but we should know based on that label what's in that product. And we don't have that confidence in that label. I don't have the confidence in those labels.
Right.
Right.
And that's why I brought up the fact about, the percentage.
Mhm.
That's the only thing really that the industry actually pays. They go up to the bud tender and like, I want that 30% THC.
Right.
So it's like, why?
And the reality is they may get 30% today, and tomorrow from the same batch they could get
Yeah.
5%.
Right.
So that continuity, the consistency, we're not there yet.
And it's important we try to get there, but it also makes me think about like aspirin. First of all, how do we know that every aspirin is the same?
It's not.
It's not. It
Especially
can't be.
the shelf life of
right?
aspirin.
That's right. It's not.
And you don't reflect upon that. Does it matter? I don't know, but maybe we should.
Is there a study? Has anyone ever put, ibuprofen, aspirin, and then cannabis? And
Well, the testing labs. Well, I don't know.
Not that I know of, but there are certain acceptance criteria for each production batch of aspirin or ibuprofen, and there should be acceptance criteria, within a range in the cannabis products where we don't have that range. The specifications, the regulatory bodies say you have to test it one time, and if the result is here, then it will either pass or fail. We don't have any guard bands. And a lot of that data is what I call as a statistician a determinant. So it could be a pass, but it also has a high probability of being a false pass. It's probably failed, and vice versa.
Statistics is the reason why I left science. Sorry.
And this is why I didn't go to law school.
Yeah, well, I went to philosophy and epistemology when I took my statistics class at BU. I was like, this is, I'm not going to do this. But no, sorry, I didn't.
No, that's okay.
I was over there. But we do try to keep these to 20 minutes. We have like 3 minutes left. I want to talk about the moose.
The moose.
Yeah, who's
There's
our
a
friend
moose.
here?
I will tell you about the moose, if I can say one more thing.
Yes.
Is that every tagline online that you're hearing about cannabis or testing or products, it is not as clear-cut as potency inflation. It's not as clear-cut as how much pesticide is in there. There are many caveats that go undiscussed, unnoticed, unmentioned, and so it is not a clear-cut story. To understand that story, we need to understand all of the caveats. So keep that in mind as you go forward. As for the moose, or Dr. Moose, as he's here, ambassador.
I love his lab coat.
He with his lab coat. AOAC is an international organization. It's been around for about 140 years. They establish standard test methods for agricultural commodities, fruits, vegetables, infant formula, milk, a whole bunch of stuff. And a few years ago, they started up a cannabis program, and I couldn't be more delighted than to say that as a volunteer, I'm actually the science advisor for that cannabis program. and it's really exciting. So we're developing cannabis standard test methods for laboratories and providing a lot of education for testing laboratories, regulatory bodies, and anybody else who is interested in scientific integrity with respect to cannabis. So the organization as a whole, AOAC on a whole, has one technical division in which Moose here gets raffled off to one lucky recipient for one whole year. And this year I got Moose. And so Moose has been traveling with me around the country, around the world, when I do lab audits, consulting gigs, speaking opportunities. And as you can see, he also has his own credentials. And when I get up here to speak in just a few minutes, he will be sharing the podium with me.
How
He does
cool.
Ambassador Dr. Moose.
See?
And that's right. You're going to be speaking here at the Emerald Conference.
I will. I'm really interested to find out what's going to come out of my mouth.
Yeah. What's your topic?
Proficiency testing, laboratory proficiency testing.
Okay.
So it's a really exciting hot topic, and we're moving forward.
Well,
Very interesting.
That's incredible. What's the best way to get a hold of you out there? What do you prefer, LinkedIn or?
LinkedIn. Sometimes I check it, sometimes I don't. Best way is email or phone.
Do we have it already?
You have it on my business card?
Yes.
Yeah. We put it up here if we have it.
Your social media, your Instagram, or if you have a.
I don't
social
have
media
Instagram.
account.
Please, there's
Okay.
only so much technology I can handle.
Yeah.
LinkedIn is about
Moose have Instagram?
He does not have Instagram. I can certainly handle LinkedIn, and come visit me on LinkedIn or shoot me an email.
All right.
And is there a website for the organization or that you'd like people to direct people to?
AOAC.org.
And what kind of people should be reaching out to you? People obviously involved in the laboratory space.
Sure. Laboratory space, regulatory space. I volunteer to teach the regulatory bodies some of the international standards that are used to regulate and that laboratories are required to attain. But being that the state regulators need to be impartial, they're not going to any specific accreditation body for training, so I offered that training as an independent consultant, gratis.
Are you going to, I'm trying to get the name right now, are you going to CANRA, CANNRA?
When?
It's sometime in June. It's
Yes.
the gathering of all the state
Yeah.
regulators.
Yes, I've been invited, and in fact, I'm on a webinar call with them on Monday as well. So I'm very fortunate to be in contact with a good number of folks from CANRA on an ongoing basis.
Nice.
Yes.
You're a busy woman.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Nothing more important than the regulators. And it's my dream to be at that conference interviewing like 15 different regulators, talking to them about their experience so we can share it with the industry.
Well, I have
Could
to
you
tell
put
you.
in a plug for us?
I have to tell you, a few years ago, they invited me to their roundtable before they formed as CANRA, and I spent a couple of days with them in Alaska, and so much about the regulations became crystal clear. When you want to be a fly on the wall, I got to be a fly on the wall for 2 days, and it's like, now I understand how we ended up here. So now I'm hoping to help them shift the tides a little bit.
And I believe I went to a regular conference back in Denver in 2017 or 2018. I just dropped into it and just wandered on in. It was really, really interesting. And I'm not sure if it's the same organization. I can't remember which one it was. But
I'm not sure. It was probably CDPHE, the local Colorado.
no, it was all the state regulators have flown in to Denver for a conference.
Yeah, it may have been their round table before they formed as CANRA.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just my guess.
Interesting.
Well, make sure you stay in contact.
No,
with
we'll definitely be in
email-wise.
contact. I'd love to pick your brain more because I'm learning so much just being here, and there's just so many different kind of scientists and doctors and.
Well, slim pickings here, so take your chances.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
But thank you very much.
You're fantastic. We really appreciate you being here and clearly demonstrates the quality individuals that we have here at the Emerald Conference. So thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you. Be
Thank
well.
you, Mr. Moose. Dr.
I know,
Moose.
Dr.
Mr. Moose.
Moose.
Tell them they need to get their own social media. That'd be cool to see him around the world.
Absolutely.
Selfies.
Absolutely.
Look, Yoda's afraid of the moose.
I know he's hiding.